Okay, so hi everyone, welcome to session 6 of API Testing Learning Program, an initiative by Operance Academy. So today we would be primarily discussing on the topic on how to test API. So front-end testing, back-end testing, and the certain use cases and test cases of how should we be going ahead with testing an API, etc. So that is the thing that we would be discussing. Ovia, can you just take through the slide, please? Yeah, so these are the topic that we would be discussing today: front and back end testing. How do we test API testing? What is API testing? The challenges, and a quick introduction to available tools in the market or in industry for testing an API. Yeah, I think today's topic is very crucial because that is what we had to achieve at the end of this session. So whatever we have been discussing so far is mainly to give you guys an idea and take you through fundamental concepts of API, because if you understand the system better, you would be able to test it and break it better, right? So for us to test API and probably uh, do a justice to testing API, I think we should first understand what is API, its components, etc., which we have been doing over last few sessions. So today, Ovia would take you guys through primarily on how do we test API. So today's session would be more interesting, and I would request all of us to keep it more interactive and make a best use out of it. Thank you so much. Over to you, Ovia.
Thank you, Shalini. And Happy New Year to everyone here. And I wish you all the best to succeed in all the ways in 2022. And before starting to the next slide about front-end testing and back-end testing, we have seen the three-tier architecture of any software development, right? So can anyone say what are all the three tiers? There are three layers in the
database layer and back.
What is the one more?
UI application, UI application and database
Business
and
layer.
service business layer.
Business layer.
Yes. So the order is presentation layer, which is you are saying as application layer or a UI. Second layer is basically the business logic layer, where we have the services logic and the business logic. The third layer is the database layer, how the data is stored and retrieved, how efficiently we can access the data that is already there. So in order to achieve it fast, it should be organized better. So all the data structures will be in the third part. Second part will be having the business logic. Business logic in the sense, say, to give you one example, if you are filling a form and you have two options. If you are selecting some option, it will just end the form. If you are choosing another option, say for example, what would I say? Okay, you are an Indian residential. It is a form checkbox. If you are choosing S, it will find up the form and you will submit it. If you are not an Indian residential, then you will have further details like where are you from, what is your native, all those details, right? So this is a business logic. Based on that, the data will be processed and what has to be projected to you for this kind of member. And another simple example will be would be age. Take any media based web publication, G5, Hotstar, Netflix. So based on your age, the content will be different. All these logics will be written in the business tier. And front end, you all know whatever you are seeing in your eyes. That is the front end of the applications. So to understand the front end testing and back end testing, understanding this three tier is very important. Okay, so front end testing is basically done only on the first layer of the tier, which is the presentation layer. Whatever you are seeing in a web application, it can be a form, it can be a graph, it can be a menu, it can be any switches or toggling between pages. So everything, whatever you are seeing, the expected functionalities will be given, and your responsibility is to make sure with this functionality requirement is met in the development of presentation layer is met or not. Okay, so say for example, you are opening Amazon, you should see all the products. If you are choosing a filter, you should get only that element. So everything you are doing you are seeing in the front end, and if you are getting it's not even about the data. If you are getting the correct product or not, that is not matter in the front end testing. Sometimes it matters, but you don't precisely looking for what you are seeing, but how you should see. That is what you will be doing in the front end testing. And on clicking this button where I need to redirect, on clicking this scrolling, on scrolling, what should happen? On using the paginations, you know the paginations, right? So there will be in Google also, when you're searching something, in the bottom you can see 1, 2, 3, next 150, something like that. So those are the pagination. On clicking this pagination, whether I'm getting the next 10 content correctly or not. So these front end, these quality checks and validations will be done in the front end testing. Coming to the back end testing, so it will be basically done on two layers, the next two layers, which is the business layer and the database layer. Okay, so it is not just, say for example, you are creating a sign up. Okay, you are signing up into some new web application, and it is asking for your email ID, username, password, and confirmation of password. It is not just you can convert this into a JSON. We have seen how API will be and how we will send the data in the API. So now we will have a JSON of key value pairs, which is first name, last name, username, email ID, phone number, password, right? So these details will be taken forward using a JSON. So it is not just sending this and getting the response as 200 or 400. It is also to check the functionalities and how efficiently it is storing in the database, how quickly we are getting it. And say, for example, if I am signing in as a primary premium member or a VIP member or a normal without any package, without any subscription, if I am adding, what is the content I should get? If I recharged, or sorry, what is that subscription? If I have the subscription, what is the content I should get? These things will be taken care in the business logic. In the database logic, the data will be stored properly and it should be efficient to fetch it easily. Okay, so in front-end testing, you will be concentrate more on the presentation layer. In back-end testing, you will be concentrating more on efficiency, security, and the data. Okay, these are all the three things we will be majorly checking in the backend. So when I'm saying about CRUD operations, I mean database testing, we have already seen what is CRUD. Can anyone quickly elaborate what is CRUD? CRUD?
Create, read, update, and delete all these
It's
operations.
not read, it's retrieve. Okay, so don't make this mistake. Create, retrieve, update, and delete. Okay, so these things will be taken care in the database layer, whether it is performing correctly and more importantly, quickly. So we should be able to, if you are having 10 tables for the same data, it should refer 10 different places and get the data, which means it will take more time. You should find a way to store it more efficiently by using the database concepts like normalization or in non-structural database. Okay, so these are all the things we will be doing in the backend testing. Okay, so let's see the key difference. Like I have already said, front-end testing will be performed on the UI, GUI. G is graphical user interface, and backend testing involves in database and business logics. And for doing the front-end testing, they should be have the knowledge on the business requirement, whereas the backend testing, what you need is good knowledge on SQL concepts and about some technical things like percentile, efficiencies, load testings, and balancings. Okay, and yeah, like I think I repeated the same part once again. GUI part. Third one, the fourth one is, you don't need any information about the database. All you need to do is how the data is presented in the front end and whether it is breaking or not. If I just drag this table and add it in some corner, you are not able to see part of this table, means it is a bug in the front end. But still you can see the correct data. I mean, the table still has the correct data. Okay, so and confirming whether it has the correct data is a backend testing. Whether it is located in the correct position of a PPT is a front-end testing. Okay. And yeah, so it is taking care of overall functionality of application. It's like starting from the sign up, going through let's take a e-commerce website, then going through the product, adding the product to the cart, getting the payment successful, getting the product delivered. Once the product is delivered, updating, returning, canceling. So everything should be in the functional testing part. Whereas in the backend testing, what we will be concentrating is whether there is any data corruption. Data loss means the security issues. Deadlock means if you are trying to make two different payment method and at the same time for a same product, and say another deadlock would be there is two requests to the bank server, one from your e-commerce website and from your media subscription at the same time, and you have 10 rupees balance, and before you are paying you have 5 rupees balance, like there is a deadlock, right? So those kind of synchronization missing, all those things will be validated in the backend. And what are all the testings we will be doing in the front end? It's unit testing, acceptance testing. Acceptance is user will be able to accept your UI, and whether you are having all the data which is necessary for a client. Client in the sense here the user, end user. And accessibility testing, whether it is accessible and easily traverse between the data we need to see, or the performance, the functionality we need to do. And the regression testing. And in backend testing, as I already said, there are 3 testing we will be doing. One is database testing, another one is API testing. Sorry, I repeated wrongly here. SQL testing and the database testing is the same thing. API testing and the security testing, actually I will update it and send it to you. Database testing, security testing, and API testing. Okay. Coming to what is API testing, what we exactly do in API testing, because as I said, there are security testing and performance testing, right? We will concentrate more only on API testing for this part, and but I will also explain what is load testing and security testing as well. Okay. So it's not just checking if you are sending one data and it is stored in the database. It is also about performance and the security. So 3 testing basically is functional testing, load testing. Functional testing in the sense sending the data, making sure it is stored correctly in the database. And the other 2 testing is database testing, load testing and security testing. So in functional testing, what we will do, we have the application, we have the API's request, and we need to make sure whether it is sent to the server and the server accepted the data and responded it back to the application with the correct data. Okay, so validating this flow is called the functional testing, functional API testing. Okay, so if you see my 4th point, just getting 200 status code as a as a response header, but getting an error message in the response body is not a correct API functionality. So what you are expecting is you should get 200 as a status code also, and a successful message also, or the successful data. If you're getting the contradict between the status code and the message or the response body you are getting, then it's a bug. It's a simple example for a functionality testing. I have a question in comment. I'll see what is it. Please post it. Okay, sorry. Coming to load testing and performance testing, you can observe from the picture itself. So it is like hitting the same API or the server several times continuously. We have seen one example in the beginning of the session, in the very first session, which is the chef example. So you have one chef for your entire restaurant and you have 50 customers at the same time, everyone wanting different dishes. The chef may know how to perform all the dishes, how to prepare all the dishes, but he cannot handle all the 50 customers at the same time. This is the same example, and we should be defining what is the performance benchmark, what is the peak load it can handle, and what is the breaking point. Breaking point in the sense, okay, by a chef at the time I can handle five orders. I cannot handle more than 5. So this is the breaking point. We should define that breaking point, and performance testing or the load testing is the testing helpful for defining this. And API is specially designed in any software system to make the system scalable. Scalable in the sense, today the application is available in one language and it is available in another language tomorrow, which means those many people will be using your application, right? So it is scaling, but it should handle that scaling. It should be ready to handle that scale. So that is the load testing. Coming to the security testing, API is vulnerable, which means anyone, if it is not encrypted or secured, can hack the API. So what are all the ways APIs can be hacked, and how to protect it? What are all the risk managements we can have, and what are all the ethical hacking method, and how to protect all those things will be handled by the security testing. We don't go deep into this now. It is like a separate, very, very big topic itself. So load testing and security testing are the next level of API testing. Any doubts so far?
No.
Cool. And so there are so many tools available for API testing in the market. I have just added only the top 15 API tools, which is most frequently used. SOAP UI is a tool which is used specifically for SOAP APIs and web service. And Cathlon supports both UI automation and API automation. It has the run and payback option. Payback is it's like once you have done the testing once, it will automatically record it and it will keep doing it for you automatically. Okay, but you have to do it once. And Postman, we all know what is Postman, and I hope you have taken some normal APIs and done some homework with the Postman. But in the next session, we will see detail about the Postman, what are all the properties of Postman, how to use it, how to define or create a request in a Postman, how to execute it, how to see the response, how to create an environment variable for the Postman. All these things we will be seeing in our next session. And apart from this, I will explain few more tools from here. Swagger. Swagger is a tool which will allow you to document the APIs also, and to it is not used to automation, but you can have the synced version of APIs with the developer. The most common problem we will be facing with API testing is it is highly dynamic. Anytime say they need to include any new variable or a feature, they will directly include in the JSON. Okay, so it will keep changing. It is highly dynamic from the developer end, and testers should be aware of it. And Swagger is the bridge between dev and the QA. So any update by the developer will be reflected immediately in the Swagger, and testing team can refer to the Swagger and take it and automate it. So Swagger is the tool for that. And coming to JMeter, JMeter is used to perform load testing. And Rest Assured is the automation framework for API. Coming to Karate, Karate is a new framework and which don't need any technical knowledge. Say for example, Java. So it is developed in Java, but it is using Gherkin language, which is a very common language. It's like English. Then that's it. So you can write code in a Gherkin language. You don't need any Java knowledge to work on Karate. It is a recent technology. So others are less frequently used comparing to these tools. You can go through the advantages and disadvantages of these tools and learn about it and go through the features it is providing. Okay. What are all the test cases we will be performing in API testing? What we majorly see. So we will see what is the return value and on the input condition. Say I'm searching for red and blue saree in e-commerce website, then corresponding value should be returned, right? And to give you some other example, if you are searching something in Google, it should give you a corresponding result. So input and output should be matching. That is one thing. And what if it is not returning any values? What has to be done? So if there is no return value, then the behavior of the API in the system has to be checked, because it is supposed to give you any either server side error or client side error or some error message to understand what goes wrong. Okay, so this has to be validated. And if one API is calling another API, say you are searching an API, on searching, what is happening is it is getting product. So search API internally calls the get API. Okay, so say the endpoint of the API is a search, and another API which has get product. Okay, endpoint of another API is get product. This search API, you are simply searching. On searching, it will call only the search API. Search API internally calls the get product API and get the result, right? So if this is called correctly, and if when it is calling, what are all the security issues they having, because it is calling internally. Internal breaches can happen, and whether it is giving the right product. So these things has to be validated, and if there is any event or interrupt during that point, that has to be tracked. Okay, and updating the data structure. So if you are having, if you, even though if you are getting the outcome, but it is less efficient, or you are missing some values, or you are expecting a data in a string format and you are but you are getting it in a Boolean format. So those kind of update in the data structure and the effect of on the system has to be validated. Another thing is, so if the resource we are targeting, that is the endpoint, if the resource is changed, say I have a product database table in the database, I changed this product table in the database as some other name, obvious product. I have changed it, means then my API should be adaptable to that changes. It should be redirected, or it should be modified according to the changes in the resources. So those validation has to be done as the API testing. Any doubts so far? Okay.
Sorry to
Yes.
interrupt. So how did you derive these test cases? So like for UI, let's say so we have requirements and we will derive test scenarios out of it, and from there we'll derive test cases, right? So but for API, what is the starting point? Like you will be having requirements? No, right?
You will be, no, we don't have, yeah, we have requirement actually. Say for example, we will be getting this API contract. We call this as a API contract. The curl we discussed on the website. I have shown you some APIs of e-commerce, right? That is called as API contract. And developer, before developing itself, they will also fix something, because that following that requirement only, they are also developing, and you are also getting the same requirement. Say consider your JSON object has few fields like employee name, employee ID, and address, and it is expected employee name should be string, employee ID should be integer. Then QA also will be validating with passing string as a ID, which is not supposed to be accepted, but if it is accepting, then it is bug. If it is not accepting, if it is throwing an error saying 404 invalid input, ID should be only integer, then it is a correct expected result. You got the point? So these are all this kind of test cases we will be doing. This is just one of it. Like I said in the first point, it is not just sending a value and getting a response. That is not just about API testing. We will be testing what is the value we are sending, whether the business logic, expected business logic. Like we have the requirement already. So what is the requirement, or what is the value should do in the business part, whether it is reflecting in the database. So we need access for the database basically. That is very must for a API testing. If you are sending one as a like count from a front end as a JSON object in an API, then your database should be showing like as one for a corresponding post. Okay. So this is the expected validation.
Hello, Via. I have one doubt.
Yes.
For the fourth point, updating data structure. Since as a
Yes.
tester, we don't have access to the backend database,
No,
right?
no,
Then how
no.
do we check?
We have backend testers will have the API. For API testing, we should have a database access.
Okay. So how
Yeah.
do we actually check whether the data structure is changed or not after uploading?
Yeah, so that one by the communication first thing with the developer. Second one by considering, if the API is working better before and now it is failing, then you will get to know that there is a change in structure. Third thing by valid in your automation or the API manual testing, some notes or document, you will have 10 parameters, but your response is giving 11 parameters, then it is obvious there is some changes in the database data structure, right? So this is one thing we can able to find it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Ovia, I have a question.
Yes. Yes.
So do you mean we can use all these test cases for all the APIs in general?
Okay. In general, mostly yes. Like 90%. No, see, if the modification of the certain resources, fifth point, that is rarely happening. Even the data structure is rarely happening. And internal APIs, third one triggering the internal APIs or some event or interrupt, then it is based on the API only. So it is depends upon the API to API.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Yes. Any other questions?
Oh yeah, one
Yes.
small question actually.
Yes.
Will the APIs that can be modified and there will be monitoring APIs as well for testing?
Monitoring API in the sense, I didn't get you. Sorry.
Without changing anything.
Modifications.
Yeah.
Okay, say for example, I have an API which has in the request body email ID and phone number, just that one. And in the new modification, that is, let's consider that the first one as a version 1. In version 2, there is email ID, phone number, and address. Okay, then there is a modification. We will be sticking to the modification of the latest one. Okay, and any modification, even if it is automation, it has to be updated in the automation also. That's why automation always needs maintenance. And when it comes to API testing, maintenance is high comparing to the UI automation because APIs are highly dynamic. Anytime in the changes will be very frequent from the developer side. And to answer your question,
Yes.
sorry.
Yes. Understood.
Okay, cool.
And one more thing, you have mentioned about load and performance testing, right?
Yes.
APIs.
Yes.
Can we do that manually, or else we need to write automation scripts for that?
We don't need automation script. There is something called JMeter, JMX script. Okay, the script is called JMX. Okay, I actually done it using JMeter, but you can do it in Rest Assured also, in Karate also. Not in Rest Assured, at least in Karate with a plugin called Gatling. So these two I have explored so far, but there are so many others for load testing as well. The most famous one is JMeter. Okay, so what it will do? Along with the concepts you are using in Postman, you have the URL parameter, authentication part, headers. Along with this, you have another parameter called thread count. Okay, then you will set this thread count as 1000. Then it will continuously hit hit the server 1000 times. It's not like one by one. It's like 100 threads will be created and 100 threads hitting the server at the same time, so that we will know whether the server can handle 100 requests per second.
Okay, got it.
Okay, yes.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Cool. Moving to the next slide, what are all the bugs we can get it in the API? Okay, so to handle the error, say for example, there is a string hello space world. Okay, but in my database, I don't want any space in the string. Okay, consider email ID. Email ID should not allowed with any spaces, correct? So I am writing as a developer, the developer is writing if there is any space before or after the email address, they are trimming it. String.trim in Java will remove these spaces basically. Okay, say I am writing this, but during the API testing, I am sending empty value, just a double quotes, open and close double quotes without any value, that is the empty value. Then a developer is trying to just trim an empty value, which will throw an error. Okay, so it is the developer error. If the error is thrown, they should be handled it by using the catch block. If it is not handled, then it will throw an error. So internal handling error will be validated in the API testing, and this is the most bugs we will be getting. Unused flags is similar to this one. Say you are expected to send 5 parameter, but it is expecting 6th parameter, which is not in the requirement. Then it is an unused flag, which is an additional parameter or something, or something unused at all, and nowhere it has to be used. Some variables is declared and which is not used. Some errors will be thrown in the API side. So that is a bug we will be facing. If you have any doubts in this, let me know. I will clearly explain once again. And missing or duplicate functionality. Say I'm getting a product. I have an API already called get product, and I'm having one more product which is called get all product. Sorry, not get all product, which is required actually. So get product. Get product detail. Both are going to get me a same details. So why should I have the duplicate functionality? So that one is finding, we can find it using API testing. And missing means, say I have a get product, but there is no post product, which is creating the product. Without creating, you cannot get it. So this is a missing functionality. So this is a missing and duplicate functionality. Reliability issue is, say I have a API, but I am not able to reach it by URL is wrong or something broken in the path or something. So which is like the major failure. It's like the high priority issue. And security issues we have already seen. Like if you're passing a param, we have seen what is get API and post API. Get API usually has query parameter, and you can see this query parameter in the URL. I hope everyone remember this. But consider you are logging in, you are passing your email ID and password as a query parameter, and you will be able to see the password in the URL, which is a security issue. It is a very, very basic, simple security issue. So you should use proper HTTP method according to your requirement also. There is also some security limitations inside the HTTP methods. Those are designed basically. So we should follow that as well. If it is not followed, then we can raise it as a bug. Multi-threading issue, like I said, in JMeter you can hit 100. You can create 100 hits in a second, but there is one post API and one get API. Your post API has updated your data, but your get API is trying to get the data which is already updated, which is currently not existing in the system. Then there will be a multi-threading issue. And if there is any deadlock is the most frequently used, receiving multi-threading issue. Performance issue, say it is expected to get me the result in 200 milliseconds, but it is taking more than 60 seconds, then it is a performance issue. Improper error or warning. Like I said, I am expecting 200. I get the status as 200, but my response body is saying error in response. So this is totally irrelevant. 200 is supposed to get me a success message only, but it is having the error message, but the status code is wrong. So warning should be correct. Incorrect handling or validate argument values. This is the first example I have given you. If you have a different data type, and it is accepted, you are expecting integer, but you are sending a string, but it still works, then it is an error, it is a bug. And response structure. Okay, this one is like a kind of interesting one. You have product detail. Under the product detail only, as a nested object, you should have the corresponding product detail, one product detail. But if you are having one product detail in another product, then the structure of the JSON is wrong. The structure of the JSON should be correct so that the front end team will properly loop it and get the correct data. Got it? Any doubts in the bugs part? Types of bugs that we can get it during the API testing? Okay, hope it's clear. What are all the challenges we are having in API testing? Basically, there is no UI. So if you want to make sure whether it is created or not created, you need a database access. So you cannot simply confirm by hitting a URL. You need to go to the database and confirm. And in order to find where is it going wrong, even if the error message also wrong, say your API is failing and your error message is also wrong, then you have no other way. You need to go through the developers loggers only, logging of the code. So then only you can able to find it. So these are all the minimum challenges we will have in the API testing. And sorry, I was gone through the second point. First point is parameter combination, parameter selection. So say you cannot have a repeated keys in a JSON object. So you need to select it properly, and you need to combine all the related parameters inside one object of a JSON. And in parent object, you can have multiple JSON nested objects. So you need to combine it together so that in front end it is easy to loop it and get the corresponding data and correct position. Simple example will be consider any post, Instagram post or FB post. Then one post, what are all the data it can have? Can anyone say what are all the data a post can have? Like post ID, post image, anyone?
Number of likes.
Yes,
Comment.
correct.
Yes.
Number of shares, correct?
Captions.
So, and not only just number of comments, it will also has the comments. Now, to design a JSON for this, because we will be passing a post ID 123, in response we will be having this post details. How the post details should be structured? It should have a parent object. In the parent object, it should have the post ID 123. Under the post ID, it should have the post image and post like count. And there should be a child, one more nested object, which has the comment, and it will have the comments. So object inside object, because comments itself a separate object. Okay, so this kind of structuring and sequencing and combination should be a main challenging during, we need to have the understanding on this. Second one, as I already told you, there is no GUI. So in order to confirm where it is going wrong, you need to, difficult to find where it goes wrong. And validating and verifying the output in different systems. Okay, so now I am validating in Windows, and if it is working in Mac or not, I cannot check. So only API level I can check, system levels we cannot check. Parameter selection and categorizing, it is like similar to the first one I have explained. Exception handling, right? So this example belongs to the example I have explained when we are discussing about the test case. Say you are passing as email ID has to be trimmed. Empty, trimming a null value will throw an exception, and this exception is not handled means it will automatically throw it in the API before it hits the server itself, right? So it is not a client error, it is not a server error, it is happening in the business logic. So this kind of exception should be handled, and a tester should be aware of what kind of exception should be handled in this business point. Then only we can get to know whether it is a bug or a expected behavior. Coding knowledge is necessary for a tester, of course, like in order to find or debug the API errors, you need to, sometimes you need to go through the database queries. So query knowledge, you should have SQL structure knowledge, you should have, if you're automating, even if you're not automating, you should have some basic coding knowledge on the developer language to understand the business logics and to perform API testing upon it. Any doubts? Cool. I think that's it for today's session. So we have seen what is front-end testing, what is back-end testing. Front-end testing is basically done on the presentation layer. Back-end testing is done on the business layer and the database layer. What are all the testing we can do in back-end testing? It's like functional testing, security testing, load balancer testing. And what are all the APIs test cases we have in testing, what type of testing we have, and sorry, I am repeating the same thing. What are all the defects we can find using API testing, and what are all the challenges? Any questions? Anything you want to know more about API testing? Please send us a message. We will make sure we are including that in the next session. Or if you need any clarification now, we can discuss.
Which type of testing we perform during when API is
Ready.
yes, ready, and which type of testing should be implemented and when the API give the response?
Okay, so API functional testing can be started parallelly with the developer. Okay, say there is a new entirely new software is preparing, then side by side, once the developer is preparing, you can start involving in the API testing, but in a light way, because in the initial time, that is the period development of the software will go through lot of changes. So you should not go to the automation at that period, because even after the stabilization of a web application, API is going to be dynamic, because any future will add parameter or remove parameter. So automation can be done later, but you can start doing the API testing once the project starts. And coming to the load testing and the security testing, it can be done. Load testing can be done after at least the basic functionality of a software gets stabilized. Only when it gets stabilized. Security testing can be done once it is live. Before it is live, actually.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Thank you. Any other doubts?
No.
Cool. So like I said, next session is going to be majorly on Postman. So make sure you are all installed the Postman, even though the session will have the installation process, like how you will do it, where you will get the Postman. Make sure you have installed it, even if you are not installed so far, and go through the features of the Postman once the session is over, and start using the APIs, and go through the components of the APIs, features of the Postman. Then you will become an API testing engineer.
So we have one small query.
Yes.
We'll log a bug by seeing the status code, or else
No, definitely not just the status code or the error message. You are the one to make sure whether this status code is correct for this scenario. Okay, the tester is the one. Say for example, you are sending an empty email address, but it is not allowed to accept it. But the developer is sending 200, means you need to raise a bug. The expected status code is 404, which is invalid, input, but you are sending 200, which is a bug. So you are not validating on the status code. I mean, based on the status code, you are validating the status code, whether it is correct status code or not.
Like when we are creating the new student report or something else, it is showing a success message like that, right?
Yeah, but if it is supposed to throw you an error, but it is still showing the success, then it is a bug.
Understood. Thanks.
Yes. Guys, make sure we are learning status code, not because developer is sending some status code we should understand. We are the one making sure they are sending the status code correct or not, and the error message correct or not. That's why we are learning the status code and the error message. Okay, we should make sure whether they are sending the correct one. All right, any other doubts?
Ovia, one question I have.
Yes.
So while designing test cases, I'm coming back to the test cases part. Okay.
Okay.
Like, see, we design test cases using like boundary value analysis. There are other techniques, right? So we use those techniques and we design technique. We write test cases. But so like that, do we follow anything here for API testing? No, right?
Can you repeat it again? I'm sorry.
So let me reiterate. So thing is,
Yes.
so while designing test cases, so following boundary value analysis, equivalence partitioning, there are design techniques, right?
Yes, yes.
Use those
Yeah.
to derive test cases. But here in API testing, how do we exactly derive test cases?
Okay. It's again based on the requirement only. Okay.
So just elaborating it a bit for you. Yeah. So
No, I got it. I got the question. Thanks,
but
Shravani.
I think
Yes.
as per my understanding, I don't think it is the similar approach or process that how we design a manual test cases for front end is a similar concepts that we use when designing API. I think in API,
Right.
the thing would be the documentation or the contract of API for us to understand it, and then for every API, I think the test cases would be more or less unique. I mean, if my understanding is right, you can add on top of it.
Correct. Say in UI, you are getting a design, right? And the design, which is not a functional one, you are just getting an image. And based on that, you are making sure UI is correct or not. Same way for API testing, we are getting this contract and the requirement and the business logic behind it. So we have three things in API testing: the contract, what are the parameters should be sent, and what is the authentication should be sent. Second one is what did I say? Sorry, business logic behind it. I mean, on hitting the API, what should happen? Third thing is whether it is reflected correctly in the database, and other in the requirement also gives you what is the table in the database has to be updated on hitting this API. All this will be given as a requirement. Just like you are getting an image of UI to test, compare and test. Okay, consider this image. Can you see this image in this PPT? Bug reporting and reviewing guidelines. This first point is in bold. So this is just an image. If you are having a website similar to this, what you will do, you will make sure whether this is in bold or not. Correct? So same way, in API testing, you will have a requirement as a document in a readable format, not as an image, which will have the what is the database has to be updated on clicking this API, what is the business logic has to be happening behind this API, what is the parameters you will be sending, what is the authentication has to happen, what is the internal APIs has to be hit on calling this API, what is the event. There is something called event, which is another big topic which we don't discuss now. So what is the event triggered? Event, like I can say simple example would be on if you're seeing some post, if you keep scrolling, nobody is going to stop in that, then it will be your mobile activities, scrolling, tapping, clicking, basically your activities will be stored as an event in the backend. So on clicking on API, if any event has to be updated, those things will be taken care. So these things will be differ from one API to another API. These things you will be getting as a requirement. API tester should make sure these requirements are met.
Okay, thank you.
Clear?
Yeah.
Cool. Any other doubts? Cool. I think that's it for today's session. As like said, next session we will see detail about the Postman. Thanks guys. Thanks for joining. Have a happy year. Further, we will be happy to help you with your queries. So keep your queries posted in the channel.
Okay, so there is one question. If possible, please share the checklist and the test cases document for a sample API.
Sure. We will send it.
You can pass it to me, Ovia. I'll upload it in the resource section only so that they can go
Cool.
and download it from there.
Cool.
I'll make a note of it. Just a
Sure.
sample test cases and
Thank you, guys.
okay, thank you so much, everyone. Have a good weekend. And as Ovia was mentioning, for next session, please do come prepared. I request all of you all to install Postman yourself and try to just play around it. Honestly, sample APIs is something that I believe one of you guys only had given one link last time where sample APIs are available for you guys to perform testing. So would request you all to just do some hands-on self-learning from your side also, because that is something that we are aiming at the end. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone. So let's all catch up next Wednesday at same time, 7 o'clock, and we will have our session 7 discussion. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day. Thank you.